As you know, watch repair is extremely laborious, so it's really an advantage if you can have someone help you do repairs. So in this case, I've asked for my friend Pierre to come and help me look at this watch. And Pierre will examine the watch in general, have a look at the hands, and then have a look at the crown to see its general condition. But often, when Pierre is looking at the watch, his wife Pierre, who was sleeping at the time, gets up to have a word with Pierre. She brings a megaphone with her so that Pierre understands that there's other work to be done other than watchmaking, and it's important that he understands his obligations as a husband. So she gets her message across, transmitting it from all sides so that he understands that there may be more to life than watchmaking. Once her message is conveyed, then she just says to Pierre, "Finish your work and get to bed." And Pierre finishes looking at the watch using his transformer technology to quickly move to all sides of the movement, checking that the second hand is working properly and that there's no issues with the crown. And then Pierre goes home and goes to sleep. Alright, so today I'm going to be cleaning this Hamilton pocket watch, and Pierre is not going to help me, even though he wanted to. So this is a very nice grade of pocket watch. It's only got a small mark in the back. So the first thing I wanted to do when cleaning this watch is actually to stop it, because I'm going to have to remove the hands, but before I remove the hands I want to actually let the power down from the watch. So what I typically do, I always say that, what I typically do, so how about what I do and not what I typically do, is I'll take the power off the watch, and to do that you just hold the crown and rotate it slightly, and I have the back off already so I can hear it slipping, and then you walk the power off like that, and I just use the friction of my hand, like my fingers. I use the friction from my fingers, and I just roll the crown back until I won't feel any pushback from the crown and the power is gone from the watch. I use a toothpick in the click spring, or the I think it's called a click spring, so that there we go. So it's all gone, so you can see a little bit more roll, and then I roll it just a bit more, but not too much. There we go. So the power is officially off the watch, and it's kind of going back and forth. If you're a real keener, you could look inside there and see what the bead error might be, because you could probably see the pallet fork and the impulse jewel in the middle of the pallet fork in resting position and check out the bead error. But I'm not going to do that right now. So what I want to do is take the hands off the watch. So let me put this back here, like so. So in order to take the hands off the watch, I want them to be at the 12 o'clock position. So I'm just going to pull out the lever here. It's a lever set watch here, and push that back in with my thumb. And I need a piece of plastic to do this. Alright, instead of using plastic, I'm going to use a piece of sticky paper, note sticky. And what you do here is you cut a V like so in the sticky paper, and this is to get on either side of the there's my V, and this is to get on either side of this without and underneath it. Let's see if I can just push that down a bit with my tweezers, and I want to be just a bit underneath that, and that way when I get my watch hand removing tools in here, I'm not going to compromise the crystal. So I would just do this and slip my pliers under there, and they're not touching the not the crystal, the face. I said crystal earlier, but they're not touching the face at all of the watch, so I'm not going to get any marks. And then I just grab these, and I usually put them aside. I don't throw them aside like I just did. I put them aside. There we go. Place them aside. And then for the I could probably use a hand remover as well to lift up the second hand. I typically just take a screwdriver and lift it up, but it's probably smarter to use this and like so, and then put this underneath and then lift it straight up. There we go. That's actually much easier on the tube here, because the tube for the second hand fits over the pivot for the wheel, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4th wheel, which is the seconds wheel. I had to count that in my head out loud. And get this piece of paper out of the way. And so that's that. The hands are removed. So what I want to do now is I want to remove the balance. I hear some ticking there. Oh, that's just my hand ticking here. I want to remove the balance from the movement. I can place the watch right down on that case back again. Get rid of some tools. And then I need to unscrew this right over here. So then I loosen the movement from the case here by just unscrewing these jobby doohickeys, and you just turn the screw until you hear it go tick, because that's the thread ticking and knowing that it's all the way out. And I'm going to just describe things as I do it, because I think it's actually useful for people to understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So you have to pick the right size screwdrivers. If you don't, then it won't center, and the screwdriver could slip, and you could scratch the movement as well. Also, I forgot to do this. If this can be out, great. If it can't, no problem. So I don't think that they need to be out for this kind of movement. So there we go. And move that aside, and it just rested down on the face on the back of the case, which I think is fine. But now I need to find a holder for this, so I'm treating it properly. I like to use these plastic pocket watch movement holders because they're less abrasive to the watch. This one here doesn't fit. It's a little bit loose. This one here seems to be a little bit big, but it does fit on the watch like this, and the watch doesn't slide out, which is great. The first thing I do though before I start farting around with this is I will remove the balance, so I don't screw up the balance. Actually, I won't remove the balance because there's a ring on this watch right here. So this is a pretty high-end movement because it's got a dust ring on it. So I think I'll just remove the face first. So I'm kind of guessing right now, but there's a couple of screws here that I'm sure will release the face. So I just have to loosen these screws. There usually is 4 or R4, is R, whatever, 4 of these screws that, and actually they're coming off nicely. I don't take these screws out completely because I don't want to lose them. It looks like someone's lost one already because there doesn't seem to be a screw in this hole. And then I just got to figure out if this face is sitting on there. Do I just have to wedge this out like that? I hold the space with my finger, so once I've wedged it like so, I hold that space with my finger so I can wedge it on the other side, and there's less friction. Once I get it seemingly out all the way, having long fingernails can be handy. I think it's stuck over on the side here, so sometimes it gets a little bit jammed up. There's a screw here that I did loosen, I thought, but maybe I need to loosen it a bit more. Let's bring it out a bit more, and that seems to have worked. And then I might have to get a bigger screwdriver here to wedge this out. So I just put my screwdriver in. Very careful when you do this, because you could ruin the seems like it's pulling a little bit here. I don't want it to be pulling. So seems, there we go, that one's out. Not sure why that one is pulling. Maybe I have to take this screw out a bit more. It's like surgery. Don't take it out too much though, because I'll lose a stupid screw. Then it's a whole other game. This thing is just a little bit stuck from being not removed for a long time. There we go. There's the back of the face here, and it looks like it's in pretty good condition. And yeah, you can see that the screws would be kind of on the inside of where the brass tucks out. So, but this face is in mint condition. So I'm going to put this. I'll just rest this on top here. And sometimes when I'm working on a watch, I will I will put a dust cover on top, but because I'm cleaning it, I'm not going to do that right now. So, but just remove the hour wheel, and then I'll remove the minute wheel beside the hour wheel, and I'll end up taking off the cannon pinion. So maybe I should do that right now while I'm here. This should just pop out if I'm lucky, or maybe I should just get my cannon pinion remover tool. So, but before I start doing all that, is this cover going to come off easy? Let me think. I'm going to look at this cover for a second, because I want to make sure that this cover is off. Yeah, so I just, same thing here, you just wedge your screwdriver in the edge here, and then just turn it, and that will take the dust cover off, and then I can remove the balance. There's the dust cover. It's a nice dust cover, and you can tell where it needs to go on. There's a little bit of corrosion there I've got to fix, but it's aligned with the stem. So I'll place that over here, and then I want to remove the balance, because I don't want to play with this watch with the balance in place, because you can screw up the balance pretty fast. So let me just unscrew the balance here, and again, just take it until you hear a little tick like that. And then I was going to hang this from my balance cock, I think. So taking the balance cock together. I've seen Mark do this on videos where he grabs the balance with the I don't want this whole thing to fall though. My kung fu is weak here. Yeah, this whole thing could fall and stretch the spring, which worries me. So I'm just going to put it in my hand like that, and then take my other hand, put it over the top, turn it like so, and then I've got the balance in a nice position here. As you can see, there's no distortion of the spring. Everything is good. And I'll just put this balance over here and leave that alone. Oh my God, we're gonna have a look at that later. And I want to make sure the screws follow the parts, so put that right there. So there's the balance there. I could examine the jewels and stuff right now, but I know they're dirty, so I just want to strip it apart and clean it. So before I do that though, I want to remove the cannon pinion here. Let me see, this whole thing looks like it's going to fall inside, but let me get my cannon pinion removed. And there's my handy dandy cannon pinion remover tool, and you just grab that on the top like so, and then hopefully it pulls out. You see, did it do anything? I don't think so. It did absolutely nothing. It's weird. Sometimes this tool works perfectly, and other times it doesn't work at all. I think it pulled up a bit, but not completely. These cannon pinions have a groove in them, so you can get your tweezers on the edge like that and just rotate upward. Make sure I'm not hitting any plate here that I'm doing this on. Come on. Come to Martha. There we go. Just need to grip it grip it really well. There's the cannon pinion. It's out. All things are good. All things are good. I changed my lighting a bit here because it's just too strong. I won't be able to see anything with this lighting. It's amazing how lighting on this works. There we go. A little bit of indirect lighting is nice. And I'm going to put the cannon pinion in here as well. So, and there's the movement. This is that's how that works here. That's a lever. The lever. It's actually pretty simple. It actually works super well, and it's simple. And this is the spring that's held in the crown. I think I can't remember. This is the crown wheel, I think it's called, in there. Anyway, that's the spring that's held in the crown wheel. And I want to take the movement apart for cleaning. So I'm going to flip this thing around. I'm not afraid of it anymore because I've got the cannon pinion out, and I just simply need to take it apart. So first thing I'm going to do is take off the ratchet wheel, I believe. I think I'll take the ratchet wheel off first. Usually this is righty, loosey, tighty, righty, or whatever. Sometimes it's backwards on these watches. So you actually twist this the other way. This thing is tight as hell. Just hang on a second. So I think I actually broke into a sweat turning this. So again, you loosen it by turning it clockwise, which is not normal, but I don't know how often this movement has been worked on, but it's brilliant. There's no marks on it or anything. So what I took a serious size screwdriver and then came onto it, but I didn't want to scratch anything here, so that would have been fairly upsetting. So that's the ratchet wheel I've taken off here. I believe that's called the ratchet wheel. Anyway, someday I should just get a picture of the pocket watch and the names of all the parts, so that when I talk about cleaning, I don't use the wrong part names. There we go. So that's out, and then maybe this is called the ratchet wheel. Someone's going to comment and say, "Hey, JD, remember your part names. It's important." I think Mark said that once. This is also pretty tight. So I just removed that, and where was this screw from? Can't remember. Where was this screw from? I got a rogue screw here. It's not from the balance, because that's over here with the balance. This was the screw from the whatever. Anyway, what you don't want to do is forget where the screws are from. There, keep them together. Anyway, I may have forgotten where the screw was from, but I'm sure as I put this thing together again, I'll say, "Hey, where's that screw from? It's missing." And there we go, and that's the screw for this. Who knows where the hell this came from? No, I can't remember. I cannot remember where this came from. It's not from the movement. I don't think it is. It's not from the balance, because I have the balance one over there. Anyway, I'll just forget it for now. Just take this apart. Sure, is the lighting okay? I think the lighting's fine. I think if I put too much light in there, there's other issues. So I'm hoping when I lift this up that I'm going to get 100%. This thing will lift straight up and I won't have any problems. And because this is a beautiful movement, I really have to take care of not scratching this at all. It's a Lancaster, and it is double roller 978. So someone corrected me the other day, because I think I said this was a movement type or something like that. He said no, it's model number, maybe, I don't know. We're not sure what it is. So I just edge this thing up here. Is there something else attached here? Oh, there's one more screw. Let's just bend the plate. How about we do that? So again, everything you do in repairing or cleaning or doing with a watch, you just do it carefully. If you find there's any resistance, then stop. immediately, because if you continue to push or do anything like that, you're breaking something. I learned that a while back. I was fixing a Waltham watch that it was a wristwatch that Waltham had made, and I bought this nice wristwatch, and then I started playing with it too much. There's the barrel, and kind of peeved me off. Now typically what I do is I take a quick picture just in case I forget something here of the movement, and bam, and mostly I'm taking the picture so that I can put this back together without a problem. So it shouldn't be a problem, but you never know. There we go. That's loose. So this is the keyless mechanism. I'll just put this over here by the barrel. A place for everything, and the center wheel should just come right out. There's the center wheel, and I take this plate off first before I take out the third wheel and then the seconds wheel. And I've seen people take one screw out and then put it down, or sorry, take one screw out, loosen one screw, and then loosen another screw, and then take the two screws out. I don't agree with that. I think you should be doing one screw at a time, because if you do it the other way, there's a chance you're going to break something. So again, there's little slots. There's little slots right in the corner here. And I may probably need more lighting here. More lighting, lighting. Yeah. Yeah, there's little slots in the right here for removing the plates. So you just put your screwdriver in there. Now that moved, eh? And it should pop right out. Look at that, it popped right out. Again, I keep the plates together with the screws, and this should lift up again. And we get that wheel there, and then take the seconds wheel out. You're going to be very careful when you work with the seconds wheel that you don't touch the pivot or do too much work around that pivot, because you could damage something. And then take the escapement out, nice and easy. And I've got the pallet fork in here, the forking pallet fork. Forking pallet fork. Actually, a friend of mine told me if you don't want to say the F word, just say fudge. So I went to, I was at Avis Travel in Italy once, and and they didn't speak good English anyway. But I said, hey, I need to get my fudging. My fudging rental car dealt with here. So can you guys help me with my fudging rental car in any way? And they said, yeah, we can fudging help you there. And not sure what they knew the word fudge was. This is an interesting ring here holding the pallet fork in. I don't think I've ever seen one like this before. It's kind of cool. So taking this out, I would be very careful as well. See if there's a groove or a lip I can get under here, but because I do not want to put any pressure on the pallet fork itself, because that would be disastrous. So I'm going to pick a smaller screwdriver and go right on the edge here, so you don't, and then go in at about a 30-degree angle and just twist it. Yeah, see, it moved there, but I didn't. There's no scratch because I was careful. I had it out. What the heck are you doing there, mister? Here we go. I'm just going to grab this and put it aside. And there we go. It even has a part number on the bottom of this. See that part number? 267768. This is a high-end movement to actually have a part number on the plate that holds the pallet fork in. Oh my God. Oh my God. Is this thing going to come out, or am I going to have problems? The other things I sometimes do is use Rodico to pick out a small part so I don't touch the pivots. Here we go. So that's the pallet fork out. So I'm 99% done here. Now, I gotta tell you, I gotta be honest with you, sometimes I don't remove these parts on a pocket watch I just leave them in sometimes, but this time I think I'll remove this lever here. I'm going to take a picture of how it's set in there so I can put it back, but I don't like the corrosion on the end there. I got to fix that corrosion. And I'm not sure about, this is the wheel that engages the it's kind of a weird configuration that engages the hour wheel, so for the minutes, I guess. So that's that. So let me just remove this, and I'll have my come on, come to daddy. Is that what they say? And I just will pick this up. I'm gonna again put this aside here, and this is the lever set for this, that, and I'm leaving this baby in here for cleaning. It doesn't need to really be removed, and I'm a really good boy. I should remove this. I should actually remove this. So when I work on these, I take a look at the teeth on the gears as well to make sure. This is a really small screw. This is to make sure that I've got the gears in the right position, because if they're at all angled, I don't want to be screwing that up. Now I should put my loop on, because I just have glasses on right now and I don't have my loop on, so I don't want a part to fly. Alright, that's good there. Put that down there, and then I'm looking at how these are put in place. This one looks like it's just sitting in there like that, so I can just edge that out like so. These are the world's smallest gears, and I got to remember that this gear, I'll put this on the left or the right and this one on the left, just to remember, because they might be a different size. I'm sure when I put them on again that I'll be able to see that they're a different size, but for now I don't trust myself. And there we go. And I'm going to look at the bevel, if there's a bevel on this gear, because I'm kind of worried about me putting it back and then the bevel's not there. It does not. Well, no. So it does look like there is a downward bevel on this gear. So it's basically like this, round and downward. So this gear here, I'm not sure if there was a bevel on this gear as well. Let me have a boo on this. Yeah, you know what? It's a downward bevel as well. So I got to remember when I put these two gears back that the downward bevel is downward. And that is actually to reduce the amount of surface of the gear that's touching the plate itself. So that's what that downward bevel will be from, right? Kind of tempted to take this out, but I'm not gonna. I'm not taking that out. So there's the movement completely taken out. So that's the and these are all the pieces. So what I will do, I don't know if I'll show you all the cleaning because that's kind of boring, but what I do is I typically there I go again, typically I use lighter fluid, and then I put the lighter fluid in here. I'm just getting over a cold, by the way. It's almost done. And I clean this with a brush, a fine brush like this. With the lighter fluid I clean this all, and I peg out all the jewel holes with a peg. Hang on a second here. Let me get my peg stick. So I'll clean all the jewel holes out like this by rotating them. So maybe I should just show you what I'm doing here. So first of all, you need some watch paper. So I have 1,000,000 sheets of watch paper. Well, actually I only have 1,000 sheets of watch paper, but this watch paper is like really thin, and you pull it off like that, and I think I got 3 pieces there. So I usually use 2 pieces of watch paper when I'm cleaning a watch. So I gotta stop saying usually and should and may have and all that crap. So I use 2 sheets of watch paper when I'm cleaning a watch, and then I take my lighter fluid, premium quality Zippo lighter fluid. Here we go. Extremely dangerous. Do not inhale. probably says do not inhale somewhere in here. Very flammable. To fill your Zippo lighter, do not overfill or it might leak. And then contents may be harmless, or harmful rather. Maybe harmless. First aid treatment. So if you swallow it, do not induce vomiting. Poison control. If in eyes or skin, rinse with water. If on clothes, remove from clothes. If you breathe it in, move person into fresh air. So I should really have a window open when I'm doing this, so I'm going to open my window and get some airflow in here. So I'll put the the plate in here. Try to lower it nice and easy so it doesn't go boom. Let's grab something that's not going to break and then lower that in there. And then I'll pour the Zippo lighter fluid right on top of the plate, like so. Right, and I'm going to be using a lot of this, so I'm going to fill that up. Goodly amount of lighter fluid in there. And then what I'll do, I got to get some finger cots on there. So a finger cot on your thumb, I guess would be referred to as a thumb cot. Good one, good one. So I'll use a toothpick usually to hold the watch in place as I'm lightly brushing the areas. I brush away from where the toothpick is, that way the thing doesn't spin on me. And this is just to remove general dirt and grime from the watch. You're going to find a lot of dirt over by the where the stem goes in. Dirt or just leftover grease in there. And I remember showing you how much crap there was in the microscope. So some of this stuff, like I can see some corrosion there that I've got a brush I can use to get rid of that corrosion. I might not want to scratch the plate though, so I can sometimes I'll use Rodico and see if the Rodico, if I take the Rodico and just scrape it along this here, it could get rid of the corrosion. But really what I want to do, because the aesthetics of the watch, you will not see this once the plates are on. It shouldn't interfere with the working of the movement. But it will, let me just flip this around without splashing myself here. There we go, get some tweezers out. Try not to breathe in any lighter fluid. Go get some fresh air! So, I remember when I first started cleaning watches and like lighter fluid, I was like, oh my god, I need even more fresh air. So, I do have right here, I've got to remove the cap jewel from the lower part of the balance staff pivot sticks into that cap jewel, and that jewel there, the lower balance jewel, and I got to remove that and clean that, because that will determine how nicely the whole thing will work. You see that little area there? I just kind of swept through with the lighter fluid, and it got rid of a considerable amount of the corrosion and leftover stuff there. So once I've gotten given it the old 1-2, as we will call it, and that's pretty much it. I'm going to let that dry off before I attempt to clean the pivot holes and do other things. So what I'll do is I'm going to put this on a piece of watch paper here, and this stuff evaporates like fast. So I'm going to keep this on this side here and out of the way. So I'll just move this over here and just lay it down, and that'll soak up a bit on the watch paper, so no problem there at all. And then what I'll do is grab some of the other plates here while I've got this stuff rocking. And again, it's not too hard to remember on a pocket watch where the screws go, but I like to keep, I know that 3 are for this plate and 2 are for the other one, so I will just generally clean this up and clean around the jewels. Also, I'm going to use the stereo microscope and have a look at these jewel holes to make sure there's no cracks or anything. I can use my C's jeweling tool to put in another jewel. I can either put a friction fit jewel in with it, or I can actually select a burnished in, select the jewel and then burnish the jewel in. I was lucky to land a whole S-load. See how I clean that up? A whole S-load full of jewels from a gentleman in Winnipeg, Canada, who's friend passed away, and he wanted these to go to someone who cares, and I do, and he's a great guy. And I actually don't know his friend, but I think of him when I'm using these components. So he also was nice, and I got myself a hairspring vibrator from him, which is a rare thing to do. So anyway, so I've cleaned that up nicely. Again, don't want to scratch anything. Got to be very careful here that I grab this nice and lightly, and then put it over here with the other piece of papier paper. Put it with the paper. Hoping this is still, I still have a good focus on this, because it's all about the focus, folks. The focus. I used to say to my wife, focus is not just a poor automobile. Actually, I had a Ford Focus for many years, and 12 years. My wife drove it around, and she loved it. It was excellent, and it was so good and so reliable that we bought a Ford Escape for my wife to drive around in, because she loved the Ford, and they have this really cool Ford app that lets you start your car with your iPhone from anywhere. And they also have an overall good care program. I just splashed myself with lighter fluid. Yeah, baby. So look at all the dirt that's in there. That's the resulting dirt. And throw the gears in for a nice little shower here. I want to make sure that the gears, you got to be very careful when you're washing them. I could probably throw this in too. Everything goes into the bath. It's like with kids. So that's good enough for now. And what I do here again is I just brush this really lightly, and I want to avoid any of the pivots. So I'm just taking my toothpick and putting it in one of the holes here, and then brushing that very lightly. Turn that around and brush it like this, and I'm just, like I said, I'm barely touching this. And later on, when I take these gears, I'm going to be pushing the pivots into some pithwood. This is what pithwood looks like. So I'll take the gears and push it into the pithwood to clean it, and I'll make sure there's no dirt in the leaves of the pinions as well. So I can put these right here, because one little speck of dirt in a pinion can stop the watch. I know that from experience. So you got to make sure there's no dirt left in the pinions, because the watch will not like it. And so there, I've done that. I also take a piece of Rodico, and I jam the Rodico in the pinions to collect anything that's left over as well. So take care. I just take really good care when I'm cleaning a pocket watch, so I don't leave any leftover crap in there, because it will stop the watch. As I said, I made a video yesterday, and my wife had a eagle squale diver that is, we dated it 40 years old, because she used to scuba dive something like 40 years ago. That means theoretically she's older than 40. And I tried to get that squale diver running for a long time, and I just couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. I had replaced the mainspring on it. The hairspring looked like it was in immaculate condition. It was completely flat. There was no issue in the hairspring side. I examined, I thought I had examined everything in the watch, and then I put it in my stereo microscope, and I had a look at the lower jewel, setting, and the jewel and the cap jewel, and the jewel setting had crap in it. Like, it had a little piece of crap in it. So even though I had pegged out the jewel hole and everything, somehow some piece of crap got in there. And then also I looked at I was looking at the one of the jewels. I think it was a jewel from the not the seconds hand, but it would have been the jewel from the escapement. And the escapement jewel itself looked like it had issues. So I'm just going to clean this on its own and put it back, because I don't want to forget what screw it's supposed to be part of. So it looked like a piece of thread or something that was just sitting there, and it was part of it was just jammed in there, and it was going kind of, part of it was going into where the balance was flipping around. So you dry that off for 2 seconds on this. Just dry it off by moving it around a bit, and then once I get no liquid from it anymore, that's good. Then I can just put this over where the screw is. So I got in deep on this watch, and I removed. I just took out. I didn't strip it down again because I had already stripped it completely down and cleaned it. So I took off the automatic movement mechanism from the top of it, and it comes off as one unit, which is really nice. And then I was able to. Then I wound it up with a screwdriver, using the basically using the wheel that's on the top of the balance, or sorry, on the top of the mainspring. So I'm going to clean these off. These little, I'm just distracting myself completely. So you just have to make sure that the feet here are completely clean. Again, don't put too much pressure on the brush, because that brush could bend something. So very lightly clean that, and then grab that nice and easy. Put that aside. You know, I don't want to crush my hands on this. I should actually move everything up so I don't have anything to worry about here. But let's throw this in here into the bath. It's time for bath, boys. And again, I like to do these. I like to put the parts back to where the screws are, so I don't have issues. So there we go. That's that, and then flip it around, and that's that, and then flip it around. And I believe there's a little wheel on the top here. Yeah, that's that, and that is that, the bottom part. So anyway, I moved that thread on the out of the way, and lo and behold, I got like incredible amplitude on her watch, and I'm like, holy crap! All this time, all it was a tiny thread sticking in there, and I couldn't find it or figure it out. So, and I had worked a lot on this watch. It was her favorite watch. So anyway, I told her, you're wearing it to bed tonight. You're not allowed to take it off. And of course, she didn't listen to me, and she took it off. And then she woke up in the morning, and it had only been wound once, so it was on her wrist before. So she basically she took it off and she put it back on. That's dry already. She put it back on in the morning, and it was keeping immaculate time. So the only problem I have with it is because it's 40 years old, the loom is gone on it, and because the loom is gone, it's harder to see the hands. And her cheapo digital watch, she can actually see better. There, this one's dry as well. So being a good boy here, doing everything one at a time. So so I've got a clearing my throat. So I have a choice to make here. I can take her watch apart again and clean the loom up, or I can just let her ride, like do nothing. Do nothing. That's what I should do. Doing nothing is always easier, right? So let me just tap this around here to get rid of it's a good technique I have here, you know. Some people say we use a blower and then blow the parts, and then I did that once, and I could not find the part again. So I don't recommend using a blower to blow the parts dry. Let them dry naturally. Also, some people take a bit of alcohol, like pure alcohol, and then rinse the parts in alcohol after. And I've been on a few blogs and talked about doing that and stuff, but because this stuff completely evaporates, you can't even smell it after, this lighter fluid. It completely evaporates. I saw no purpose in putting this thing in oil. It just didn't make sense, right? So why would I do that if this thing evaporates completely? So I don't. So I just clean it up nicely and then go from there. Let me see, what do I got here? This little screw here. This little screw is holding like more friggin', there we go. Let's dry that off on the bottom. That's my drying technique. I just do that, and then I've got a plan A. So these parts actually look pretty clean. I don't think these will cause an issue. These look immaculately clean. So the weather up here in Canada is crappy. It's we're getting freezing rain right now today. It's Monday and New Year's Day is 2 days away. So I think somebody said, what is it? Alcohol before beer and you're all clear. Beer before, let me see, alcohol before beer. No. I think alcohol or spirits or something before beer and you're all clear. And then the other way around, you're gonna have a shitty day. So I think that's what they said. So I'm pretty sure. So I'm hoping you know what, you can fast forward this, so that's the beauty behind this working like this, is that if you don't like all this cleaning crap, you can fast forward it. So I just almost lost a part there. So again, I just dab those down in the watch paper, and they dry off really fast. And I know for a fact that all this other stuff is probably dried by now. So I'm just going to move the gears back here again, and move the gear, and another gear, and I'm going to move this over here where the pallet fork is. I got to do something. I have to look at the pallet fork. I'm never sure whether to clean the pallet fork or not. Some people are saying the Joule alcohol doesn't affect the shellac on the pallet fork. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're not right. Not sure. So that's the plates here. I'm going to move these plates out of the way, and because I'm going to, do I clean the pallet fork with alcohol or not? Let me think. I'll tell you what. I think I want to have a close-up look. I don't know. What do I do here? Yeah, throw it in. What the hell? So I'm going to clean the pallet fork just a bit with the alcohol, and then hopefully I don't ruin the shellac on this, and I have to re-shellac on the thingamajobbies. So in this case here, I am going to use the blower, because I don't want this shellac to be on, or the alcohol to be on here for very long. So I'm drying that off right now using a blower. This is my blower. It's pretty cool, actually. Works well. It's the best blower in the world. I could make a joke there, but I'm not gonna. Gonna keep this clean, ladies and germs. No Bill Clinton jokes allowed. So, so that's clean there, and then I do have these two little wheels that I should clean. So I don't want to screw them up though, but I'm going to clean them just because I took them off. Beep 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 beep. That's one. This paintbrush keeps rolling towards me. I think it's the gravitational pull I have, and I need to lose a little weight and I won't have as much gravitational pull. And then I have to make sure that these are, again, when I put these back, they're down. So otherwise I'm in big trouble. Now if I were to lose one of these little tiny parts here, I would be screwed. To find a Hamilton part this size would probably cost me $30 minimum, probably $40 including shipping, right? If you buy from some people on the internet and they take Hamilton watches, and if you buy it on eBay, they sell the watch one part at a time, and oh my god, that's not really nice. So you're better off buying a scrapper movement, and you can actually tell where the beveled part is here just by looking at it. So anyway, you're better off buying a scrapper movement and not having to deal with that. So let me have a look here. I'm going to be super brave. I'm not sure whether I want to pop this mainspring barrel off or not. This looks like it's got a little, something's been done to it already. So I'm going to have a look at this barrel, so not bore the crap out of you. So it looked as though someone had already taken this apart, and they had wedged something in here, and this was popped up. And so to close the barrel, all you do is do this and squeeze on it. I'm kind of almost not interested in dealing with the mainspring right now. It seemed to have plenty of power, and I'd have to take this mainspring barrel apart, which is not a big deal, I guess. Take out the mainspring. It's got a T-hook on it, I can see on both sides. And then clean the mainspring. Oh, should I do it or not? Oh my God. And I got to actually find a screwdriver that's smaller than the one I got in my hand to pop the barrel up. So that could be even bigger challenge. So it's, do I want to do this? Because I got everything working nicely now. So nice, everything's clean. If I were to pop this up and put I think I can break this if I try to pop that up. There we go. So the barrel's up off it. I'm being stupid. And there is the arbor, and there's the mainspring. And it looks roasty toasty fine. So, but you know what? Just for poops and giggles again, I'm going to throw the arbor, and I'm going to throw the barrel. And should I be a good boy or not? I don't know. Walk the spring out of the barrel or not? Yes or no? That is the question. It looks like somebody folded over a pin in this. It doesn't look like a normal mainspring barrel. It looks like somebody took a pin and folded it over on the inside of that. So I think if I take that out, I'm going to have problems. But for now, I'm not taking it out. It had plenty of power on it. I'll oil the top of it. I'll clean the cap on this a bit. Get rid of some of the gum. And it's got a marking on the barrel too. It says 126116T. So that's the marking on the barrel. So there's cleaning the barrel here. Just chase it around the block a bit. I don't know. Sometimes I guess if this were not my watch and it was someone else's, I would take this barrel off and I would replace the mainspring on it. That's what I'd do. But since it's mine, it shouldn't be determining whether I do stuff like this, whether it's mine or not, right? So that's bad. But I really don't want to take this mainspring out. I'll have like a week's worth of mainspring work to do. So I'm going to be a bad boy here, and I'm going to, damn, I hate to do this. Should I do this or not? If I take this mainspring out and it goes bidding, then I'm kind of screwed. Oh man, I'm a purist. I'm going to take the mainspring out. Just put your glasses on, ladies and gentlemen, because the mainspring is coming out and it's going to friggin' snap on me, and I'm going to have to fix the mainspring. I know it. So I'm just going to pull it out like this. This is how you take a mainspring out, by the way. You kind of edge it out. If you're lucky, you edge it out. There we go. And then you walk your fingers along it. Now, doing it with finger cots on is usually a disaster. So I'm going to take the finger cots off. I'm going to, so you get the play-by-play, you get the I'm going to's all the time. Then you got to put your fingers in here as you walk the mainspring out, and try not to get it snapped into your eyeballs. Ah! I had it. You have to hold the mainspring on one side though, because it can be a disaster. And then you put your thumb in there, and hopefully this works. And just walk this thing out, and it curls in clockwise. You just have to remember that. Probably the mainspring is set because it's been in here for a gajillion years, so I don't want to break it either. So I'm walking it out, and I know the focus is off on this, but too bad. Too bad. See how I convinced myself to clean the mainspring? Stupid. And there I'm walking it out. So putting it back in, I'm going to put it in by hand again. And there we go. Mainspring is almost out. Before I get to the end here, I know I'm going to have problems right at the end because this is just sitting. And there we go. Mainspring is out and looks pretty set to me. So I got to put it back the exact same way. Just move that over, throw the barrel in, and you guys convinced me to clean it. It wasn't me who decided that, okay? It was you guys, and probably because I was making a video and I get like 500 comments on why didn't you clean the mainspring barrel. And there's also scratched into the mainspring barrel, there is a number in there as well. So this thing was cleaned a long time ago, and whoever cleaned it put numbers everywhere. So that is what happened. So and I'm going to wipe the mainspring down with a cloth. That's pretty much how you do that. And I will put it back in the barrel, and then grab that with my fingers, being bad here. Put it back into the barrel, and then put some oil on that. Let the arbor dry. Let the arbor dry. And I can't remember if there's anything else I need to clean. Oh yeah, there's this here. So I need to clean that and make sure it goes back into the right position again. Otherwise I'm getting better at these anyway. So, and this comes off, I think, completely. And clean that up. That's the crown wheel, I think it's called. I need to go back in my books and then read up on everything, what everything is called. And there's no doubt this is beveled as well. Oh, there's a groove in there. Cool. That'll let me know which way it goes. And I'm just going to put this on the watch paper right here so I don't lose it. And it'll absorb all of the water from that. And I probably will hit that with Rodico later on. So, and let me take the mainspring and stretch that out a bit. I don't know if that helps when you stretch it out, but I usually take a cloth like this, stretch it out, and clean it as much as I can clean it before I put it back. Looks like it has fingerprints on it anyway, from the last guy who did it. The last guy was no good. He was crappy. So you just take it like this and then pull it out, and I'm able to stretch it in the reverse, kind of put a pull on it this way, and that'll give it a bit more life. Not a lot, but a bit more. You'd have to put a brand new mainspring in. And what I don't want to do is tangle it all up, so I'm going to pause this for a second and do this. Alright, I'm going to now put a little bit of oil on the base of the mainspring barrel. Should also have my finger cots on. I'm being bad. Again, being bad. So this is if the mainspring rides in the base of the barrel. It'll have a little bit of lubrication on it, so which might help, might not. Hard to say. Too many people with too many opinions in the watchmaking world. So, and I don't need any wall grease for the wall of the barrel at all. And I will put a little bit of oil on this side here, because that's where the arbor rides, right there. So then after you put that in, I got to walk this mainspring back in. So, and I'm going to do it with my hands. I hate to do this, but I do have mainspring winders and all kinds of other crap. But now I said this thing goes clockwise, right? So I'm hoping that I put it in the correct way. So what I do is I'll find the little notch here where this goes in, and I'll put the mainspring in that notch, and then I'll wind it in by hand. And I got other videos on that, so I'm not going to. Alright, the mainspring's back in the barrel. There it is there. And the hard part was to actually get that hook in there. So it's in there now. And I'll put a little bit of oil here on the outer ring here too, where the arbor goes in. So just so I get some nice movement on that arbor. And then I got to line up the groove, and it would be, in this case, It's supposed to be this groove that's lined up with this pivot or whatever you want to call it, but the last guy who did the watch lined up the wrong groove. So I'm just wondering whether I can line up the right groove here and put this back in, because it should really be this groove here. He lined up the big one. It's kind of crazy. It's crazy. Guy was crazy. So if I line up the smaller one, well, that maybe he lined it up because he had replaced the thing and it doesn't fit that way. So I might have to do the same thing, because that little groove does not seem to fit over that. That little groove here doesn't fit over that mark, so like that. No, it actually doesn't fit. That's why he did it this way. So he took it this way and he lined it up like this, which still provides pressure on there. Then he put the cap on like that, which is crazy. But before I do that, I got to put the arbor in. So do that. So now I've put the arbor in, but the spring's not grabbing it well enough, so I've got to use a pair of pliers and pull that spring in a bit more, so that shouldn't be too bad. These are my spring squeezing pliers, and what I will do is take these pliers, and I need to put a little bit of pressure on here, and then I think it's this way actually, and then pull down on that, and that will turn that in a bit. And I want to have that curled in a bit more than it actually is now, because it ain't. So that should grab that center arbor better, and I believe it goes in like this, and then it turns and connects onto that arbor like that. So I'm going to try putting that in again and be back. Alright, it's in there really nicely now. I had to shape the spring a bit so that it grabbed it nicely, because there was a bit of an angle where the hook was, and I didn't want that angle to remain there. So I shaped it a bit, and I still have to put this cap on a bit backwards, but not backwards, but the notch is going to be on the other side, and that's just because of the previous guy a long time ago didn't put a pin in the back that was probably the wrong size. So that is what he did, so leaving me with no alternative but to do it this way. So let's see if I can close this, and that's not going to cause a lot of pain. God, these caps are not easy to close. They're a pain in the butt. There we go, that side's done. And then I just don't want to squish the pin when I'm closing it, so I just hold it away from where the pin would be. Use the thick side of these tweezers. I think it's closed. When you look at it flat, and there's a little bit sticking out right here. So I got to grab that and come onto it. Oh, there we go. I just heard a snap. If any part of this cap is sticking up, the watch won't work. So there we go. There's a little tab there, so put the barrel back. I was a good boy. Now I have to peg out the holes on here, and what I do for that is I use a piece of, what's it called? Pegwood? Because you peg stuff out with it. Maybe that's why it's called pegwood. And I carve it into the biggest one. I clean this by just rotating this in here and flip it the other way. And I usually see if there's any leftover dirt from the jewel and the pegwood. You want to peg out the hole for the mainspring as well, so there's nothing there. And I take a look at this to see if there's any leftovers. And then you want to work your way from the largest jewel to the smallest jewel, and be ever so careful when you're pegging. So I've got to sharpen this up, and you just use basically reaching back for a knife. So you use just a knife. I use one of these, and all you do is carve it so that it is, let's leave the carvings on the mat here, but you carve it so it's really sharp on the end, because you're going to want to get that inside the jewel hole. And again, doing stuff on camera, that should be good enough. Not bother closing the knife, so I'm just going to show you how I peg this out, and then we won't bother pegging out the rest of the holes under camera. So I'll do that and peg that out, and then when I pull it out, I rotate it, and if you can see that, you can see a little tiny bit of it's sharp. So my advice though, you peg it out from the side where the pivot enters, and so I peg this one out next, and this pegwood just sort of forms to the hole. It's not a hardwood, but it's soft enough to be able to go in and turn that and then clean it. And I look to see if I snap the end of the pegwood off as well, because I don't want to do that. That would be nasty. So that's this side all pegwooded, and I'll do the other plates, and then I'll take off the upper and lower caps for the jewel. I also use Rodico. I just cleaned this edge up here that has some corrosion on it, and I use Rodico in the plates where there's some corrosion, and I just do that, and it cleans up all the gunk that might be left from, see that? It just cleaned all that up nicely. And so I usually run the plate with Rodico just to get rid of any leftover corrosion or anything else that the lighter fluid wouldn't have taken off. And that gives me a really nice looking plate. Again, I don't have my finger cots on, but I should put them on and do a final cleaning here so I don't mess it all up. Alright, now I'm a good boy again. So, you can see some corrosion right in this hole here, and probably be able to, it just looks like rust. And it's in the screw hole. That's pretty good there. And there's nothing left over here on these jewels. The jewel holes look impeccable. Impeccable. Clean as heck. And I can hear the rain outside actually hitting the windows. So, and if you see there's a little tiny bit of corrosion there. See that? Right there. And if I get in there nice and close and I rub that with the Rodico, you will see that the corrosion is gone. Little spot right there, and this is a magic mud there, completely gone and shined up nicely. So this is a Rodico, which is phenomenal, and it also puts a nice shine on the top as well of the movement. So Rodico it's the new duct tape. It's man's best friend. And I'm gonna a little bit of elbow grease on this area here with the Rodico. See if I can remove a bit of that, and I have. And all that looks pretty good there. And yeah, we're good there. And alright, so that's that. And then for these wheels, as I said earlier, I typically just make sure I do the end of these. I Rodico them, then I pithwood them. And this is the pinions more than the pivots, just to make sure there's no leftover crap on the pinions. Just throw that around, why don't you? It'd be tough to make watches or to fix watches. Watchmaker is not a. It's not a light man's game. What do you say? That doesn't make any sense. Watchmaking is not for the light of heart. There we go. The fleet of heart. Is that right? Fleet of heart? Light of heart? I don't know. You make sure I get the leftovers of anything off of that. And then this actually looks pretty clean anyway. So that's good there. And then I'll just make sure that the escapement is good, and that's good. And another thing I do with the escapement typically is I roll it on this just a bit of Rodico to make sure that there's no leftover boogers. I'll call them boogers on the end of that escapement. And then I also want to do that with the pallet fork, just to make sure there's nothing there in the pallet fork. Just dab that in there, and that's nice. And I think there we have it. The last job of Rodico, and I usually take a super clean piece of Rodico, is to look at the face of the movement. And if you have any markings or anything on the face of the movement, the Rodico will clean that up too. So I usually do that. Get rid of any stuff, fingerprints, you name it. The Rodico is great for that. Bruising, ill will. I can't think of anything else. So there we go. And I've cleaned up like a movement before completely that had like a little thing like that. I just take my fingernail and do that. And then I go in with the Rodico and then clean that up. See? And that, I guess, is another job for a fingernail. Fingernails are kind of soft, so they won't scratch the movement. So, like, there's a little thing right here, a smudge right here, and I'm not sure if that's just, it looks like water or something, but it's hard to tell. But this is something that Rodico might not remove. Now, it doesn't look like it's coming off, so I'll just leave that the way it is. It is a vintage face, so that's good. That's all cleaned up. Now what I have to do, I've pegged out all of the holes on it. I've done all that, so now I have to just reassemble the movement, which is the fun part. So, and reassemble the movement, you just do it backwards. And should I do it with you watching? Perhaps. Perhaps yes, perhaps no. I don't know. But typically, there I go again saying typically, so this video better be entertaining. So I'll put a little oil here and there on this thing when I reassemble it, but like so. And I know I've got to put the mainspring in at some point in time, so I might as well put it in now. So there we go. I don't know, I can't remember if I took a picture of the plate. I think I did take a picture of the plate. But usually the wheels go in reverse order, so usually the escapement is on the bottom. I can't remember whether it's high or low, but I'll put it in like this for now. Sometimes escapement in the pallet fork, so I probably should put the pallet fork in first. Be a good boy. So a pallet fork's pretty easy to put in. You just look at the dart for the bottom part of the pallet fork, and that dart has to be, basically the dart is on the I've got my cameras right in the way here, but that's the pallet fork there, and then so this has to be over on this side. The dart has to be on the bottom part of the pallet fork. So this is where the escapement goes, so the pallet fork has got to go right in there like that. And there are different, that's pretty good. There are different schools of thought as to whether the pallet fork jewels are oiled. So I typically don't oil them. Typically, there I go again with that word typically. But I would normally not oil the pallet fork. So I'm going to line these screws up here. There we go. And when I put this together, is that in? I look for the, I always look for the pivot sticking out of here before I tighten down anything. Let me move my oil out of the way. Because a lot of this oiling I can do later, but I do that. That way I don't destroy anything. So just hold that down with one finger. Doopy-doo, doopy-doopy-doo. I could say watch a master at work, but right now I'm screwing up considerably. So let's watch a non-master at work. Let me grab this, straighten it up like that, and then put it in the hole. The thing is, I'm really far away from the movement right now because I'm also hot. I got to take a sweater off because I got the camera going straight down on top of everything, and so it's in the way of everything. I think I just heard my wife's footprints. So the question is she going to come upstairs and say, do you need some more tea for your cold, or are you good? And I'm going to go, I don't need any more tea, I'm good. So I'll have lied to her. That is not going in right. I'm going to cut out so you don't have to watch me do this. Holy crap, it's like an hour and 14 minutes of this video, so I think YouTube will go, listen buddy, why don't you cut your videos down by about an hour? How's that sound? And then we won't have to be putting them on the air all the time. So that's that there. And I just, before I tighten completely, I just make sure the pallet fork, it moves, and it does. There's no problem there. And guess what? The jewels are still on there. Tighten that down, and so that's in there like that, and then I should be able to put the wheels in. Can't remember whether this is just on the bottom or not, but let's just pretend it is. I think it is. And I do use a special type of oil for the pallet fork, so it can go in perfectly. Come on, get in there. Again, I think talking and doing watch repair is not good. Oh, there we go. That's in. And now I know the next wheel, this wheel here, lines up with where the crown would go. So it has to be the seconds wheel, right? Because that would be on the bottom. So that is a big hint. And I'm hoping that, I think it goes in just like this, but I'm going to take a break for a second because I need a drink of water or something. Alright, I'm back. Had to get a drink of something. Had an acid reflux causing me issues there. So anyway, I think this one goes on, maybe it goes on like, no, it goes over the mainspring, so it goes on like this. So, and this would represent plate number 1. I'm hoping you can see all this because I can't. Again, I gotta figure out how to get that camera out of the way so I can see what the heck I'm doing. Because I would normally just pick it up and do it. Do it! I can't find the hole. It's holeless. This, my friends, is pissing me off. Oh, there we go. I found the hole. And then it popped out again. Oh my god. It's like crazy. I have to take it off the video again so you don't have to watch me do this? Absolutely. So I can pick the movement up and find that stupid hole in like 5 milliseconds. But the minute I have the thing on video, the hole disappears. So now I have 2 plates I can put in. I can't put this plate in yet because I still have to put this in here. But I can put the smaller plate in, I believe. 1, 2. Yeah, there's only 2. I think there's 2. There's 2 wheels on this plate, so it's not a big deal. So I can throw that plate on. Again, I just apologize because it's very hard to do when you have the video. It's on video and the lighting is crappy to try to put these plates on. So I'm going to lift it up and then do it properly. I just want to move it out of the way maybe and do it, get it closer to me or something, right? So anyway, that's my problem, not yours. So what I typically do is I put the plate on. Typically, there I go again with the word typically. I'll put the plate on like this, and this was the plate with the 2 screws. And then I'll put a screw in here like this. Is there going to be a screw hole there? Hopefully. And I will partially tighten that down. Oh, there we go. Partially tighten it down, and then I'll put the other screw in, and it'll partially tighten that down. Uh-oh, is that the right one? That wasn't the right one. It was this one. I'll partially tighten that down. The mystery screw is still there, by the way. I still don't know where that screw belongs. Oh, I gotta go off camera and put this together without you guys watching, because I'm totally discombobulated right now. So I think the lighting here is terrible. And it's causing me issues. It's causing extreme issues. Because I will put this together. Plus it's not even in the movement holder properly. So I did say a couple of videos ago that you got to show all your problems, right? I didn't mean all my problems because there's way too many being shown here. So I will screw these down. I can't see the pivots through the hole yet, but I will put them down, screw them down just a little tiny bit so that the plate stays where it's supposed to be. And then I will nudge the gears into the pivot holes, which hopefully will work. Let me see. Yeah, so and I will go under here and just nudge the gears into the pivot holes, and then it'll be all together. So I'll be back when it's there. Then I make sure I use this tool here to do that, and then I make sure I can see both the pivots through the top of the jewel hole, and then I tighten it down. And again, I'm not tightening the whole movement down until this whole thing works, so I tighten it down lightly, which I've done. There we go, and then I'll be able to tell whether I've got, I'm blind! I'll be able to tell whether when I make the gear train move again, I'll know whether I've got issues or not with that. So, but now I've got to put this little jobby-do together. So, and I'm going to put some oil on here too. And I don't have to oil the whole thing. I'm going to wait till I get it in place and then place the oil on it. So, actually I'm going to put a little tiny bit of oil on this part right here. Right here. There we go. Enough of that. I got too many tools down here, you know. I got tons of tools. 1:22. I'm going to try to get this video done under 2 hours, because I will definitely be pissing people off if it takes more than 2 hours to do this video, right? I think. I shall oil. I think I'll oil the edge of this as well. Like that. And I'm going to put a little bit of oil on this here as well, because I know that it deserves it. Yeah, not sure if you can see that or not. Yeah, I think you can on the edge of the video. So I've oiled that, I've oiled this, I've oiled that. This goes in like this, and then this screw here. Remember, this had like a pivot or something on it, a bevel or a pivot, or no, the other ones had a bevel on them, but this one here has got like an edge or something. Yeah, there's some kind of an edge on this thing. I think it's also beveled. I get all these beveled. I think Hamilton was into beveling everything. I think they beveled wherever they thought something was going to touch and be at the right angle. So there it is there. I'm hoping that's the right side, the way it's beveled. So I'm not 150% sure, but I am partially sure. So I know if it's not right, I'll have to take it all apart again, which will really suck. So that's down like that, and I know to put that in properly, you've got to have there's a spring on the other side that has to go. I gotta turn this around here without you watching. There we go. That spring there, I think that's in. That spring had to be set on this right here, or it doesn't work. Nothing works unless that was set right there. So that's where that spring went. And without making everything go pow, I'm going to also put a little tiny bit of the thicker oil here on the end here. So let me get in a little closer here. I think my lighting really sucks. There we go. And then I'm going to put a little bit of this in 2 of the gears, and in the crown here, and that should pass the this along to the ratchet. I think that it's called the ratchet. Anyway, so that's that there. And the plate, I need to put some oil on where the mainspring goes through, right there. And I'm going to be a good boy, and I probably shouldn't do this, but I'm going to put this oil on the inside of these jewels. These are the bigger jewels, and they take the thicker oil. That one didn't need any, but that's fine. So that's that, and then I'm hoping this goes in really nicely. One more place I'm going to oil. One more place, and that is right here, because there is a lot of friction right there. Using the thicker type oil, and then I'm going to drop this plate on and pray. Oh, I forgot one gear. Yes, that would have been bad. So I'm going to put my center wheel in here. Center wheels go, and hopefully that goes in nicely. There we go. There's the center wheel in place, and now I'm going to drop this in place. Clear my throat. Hoping and praying I don't have issues. Now I think there was there was a spring over there I took out, but I'm going to put that in later, so I'm going to try to line this up somehow. Alright, just fall down and don't give me problems. Did that fall down? Well, look at that. I think it went right in nicely. All the gears in there. Let me look down. And lordy, I see pivot holes. I see pivots. Lordy, I sees pivots. Alright, so that's 1, 2, 3. So what I will do is hold my finger down on here while I put these screws in. And again, screw them down lightly. Don't put a lot of weight on them right away, because you'll screw something up. The screw's not wanting to go in. So yeah, screw these down nice and lightly. I'm thinking you can see everything and I can see nothing. So I had to adjust the video for this, because it's I had to adjust the lighting here because it was causing some kickback on the video here. It was getting too much reflection. And I know you can't see that. I'll move this over just a bit here. And the last screw here, I just pick the screw up like that, turn the screwdriver around. It's one of the first talents you learn when you're working with watch repair is how to pick up a screw. So, and usually when I put them in the plate, I just rock them back and forth till they find center, and then do that. I'm hoping I haven't missed anything, and don't do that. Again, with the camera right over the top here, it's interesting. It is what I would call interesting. So there's that, and that. And then when I put this ratchet wheel in here, I want a bit of oil on that. And so I will apply a little bit of oil on the ratchet wheel here. And you don't need to put a ton of oil on there, because it just transfers the oil to the crown wheel. So again, if that's what that's called, I should look this up. This is the ratchet wheel, I believe. So drop that in like that. Then I have to drop, I believe this goes on top like this. And I should put a little tiny light bit of oil on the top of this, because that does spin around. Reduce some friction here. And when I'm finished all this stuff, I'm really hoping that when I turn I put in my bench key and turn the movement, that I get 100% satisfaction. So this screw turns the opposite direction, like this. I'm going to center the screwdriver so it doesn't slip out. And so this screw turns in the opposite direction, and then I make it snug but not super tight. And then I just need to put on the cap here. Again, is this thing called a ratchet, or is this called a ratchet? Somebody write me and tell me which is which. I could take 2 seconds after I make this video and look it up. And I've fixed enough of these watches that I should know what the heck I'm doing. But I was talking to a person earlier today on Etsy, which is a place I sometimes get pocket watches from. And I said to her that she knows all about the history of it was a Trenton pocket watch that I purchased off her for a very reasonable price, and her grandfather had it, and she knew all about the Trenton, the watch, the pocket watch. She said her grandfather used it when he was a young man. He actually wore it when he got married, and she's going to send me a picture of this pocket watch. So you tighten this up here. And then I usually tighten this. You don't have to super tighten that, but give it a little bit of again, make sure it doesn't come apart. There we go. So I think I'm good to use a bench key to turn some things here. See if this works. I don't know if I get the right key here. No. Yeah. So I'm going to just turn this and see if I get any action here. Now I could simply what's going on here? This is not tight enough. It's not underneath. Something's going on. Yeah, I think this is not down tight enough, because I just think I just had this slip out. So I'm gonna fix that and come back. Turns out I was using the wrong side of my bench key. So nothing was wrong. I note to file, nothing was wrong. So there we go, it's wound up. Now, I'm all wound up. So to test this, all I do is touch the pallet fork, and if it snaps back and forth, I'm good. And it is snapping back and forth, as you can see. So that's good. So that's working well. Now phase 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever, I'm not going to replace the balance yet, because I'm going to put some of the stuff on the other side so I don't foul my hands with the balance. So you don't want to do that. So I can tighten these plates down, because I might forget. So I've done that before, where I've finished everything and then thought I was good to go, and I went, oh crap, I forgot to tighten the plates down. So just make sure the plates are tight. I did that once, and actually this jumped up, and I was like, I could not understand why the watch wasn't working properly, and I thought, oh, I forgot to tighten the plates. You are an idiot. Idiot. And I just moved this a little bit to make sure I get some movement there. Yeah, still have power going through there nicely. All the pivots are in the right place. Now I still have to deal with the cap jewel on the other side. So let me just flip to the other side here, and I still have to, I want to make sure I don't forget to oil these as well. And then I have to put a little bit of oil there, and then I have to put this spring back in, which I can probably do right now. But I have to do the cap jewel. So this is the device that's used to set. There we go. And I screw this down. I have to make sure that I'm going to put a little oil on there too, but I have to make sure it's fitting inside to make sure that this goes up, because it will move it out of the way. So that's the way that works. I think my screwdriver is too small, and my movement holder is too big. Oh my God. And just tighten that a bit. Let me see if the screwdriver is the right size. It actually is. So now, there we go. So when I move that out, this moves out of the way. So that works perfectly. And I'm going to put a little bit, I'm going to put some heavier grease on there, because there's that's a lot of movement in there. So that'll help reduce the friction on that from here on in, right? So that will move like this, and then that'll be really good. So that's fine. Now I probably don't need to show you me removing the cap jewel and cleaning it, because I've done that in another video. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be back. But before I do that, I want to put these little buggers back. So bugger 1 and 2. So these are beveled downward. So if I look at it, I can actually see the bevels. So there's bevel 1, and I don't want to lose it in the hole. I got the movement at an angle here though. And if I look at this one, it is beveled the other way. So this one goes like this, right in here. Bevel 2, and then the plate. I'm just going to put a dab of oil on top of those. And again, I want a light oil, so I need to clean this off a bit and put a very light oil on the end of this thing here, and this just lets it move around more freely, and the other one as well. And as I said in another video, if you pull the oiler off fast, you get more oil. If you pull it out slowly, you get less oil, which is kind of cool. And you just have to spend a lot of time oiling stuff, and you'll figure that one out pretty fast. So I just put that back on, like so. I'm sure if someone's watching me, they're going, JD, what are you doing? Like that. Then I have the world's smallest screw I've got to put on. I'm not going to watch this, because I got to get right up close to it. One thing I do sometimes when I'm putting a screw in place and I don't want the screw to drop in somewhere else, I will put a piece of Rodico, and I'm trying not to put it where I've oiled, but I'll put it right next to where I'm putting the screw in, like this, and that, if the screw jumps out, the chances of it going into another place is slim to none. I've only done this, I do this sometimes depending on the movement, but if it's a really small screw and you're trying to get it in there, it's going to have the propensity, is that the word, to go find another hole. So if I do this, and there we go, and I found the hole for the screw, and I'm going to bump my head on the camera again here, but because I can't see frig all. Alright, I'm moving this, I'm turning off, and there, 'tis in. I had to get on top of this because it wasn't going to work otherwise. So there it is there. Let me just make sure these gears are free. Yeah, there we go. So those are free. The cannon pinion, I didn't clean the cannon pinion, but I don't think there's an issue there. So I need to push that in, but I typically push that. Typically, there I go again. I usually have this second gear in there first, and then I push the cannon pinion down and I align it as I'm pushing it down. I look down onto the movement and I look where the leaves are for the gears, and I make sure that I've got a good alignment, because I don't want to be pushing the cannon pinion down and then I've got this additional issue of the there we go. So that's down. Now if I turn now I have to put this back. I didn't see a leaf on top of this, which is odd. Usually there's a leaf on here. Now I did notice that you do oil, and again I can put a thicker oil, but you do oil the outside of this cannon pinion so that this moves around nicely without friction. Let me see if I can oil that. Again, the lighting is shitty. I'm missing all the oiling, and I accidentally, but no issue, oiled the leaf gears as well, or the gears. So I put that on like this and make sure that's lined up like there, and turn that a bit. Come on, get in there. And that should line up if the cannon pinion's all the way down, right? There we go. So that's perfectly lined up. And again, a little more oil, and I'll put that oil on the very top of that. Just a smidgen there. And that should do. And then as I go around the gear train, I want to make sure I got some oil in the heavier gears. So I want to make sure, I think this is one here. You know what, this oiler is shitty. I need to pick a better oiler. It's the wrong one, but I'm going to use it anyway. So it's 1:41, an hour and 41 minutes. So I got to hurry my butt up and get this thing done. So I think that I've got this gear here. Bam! It's got the oil in, no problem. And then I usually use a lighter oil for the this lighter oil here, this oil right here for the other gears, because I don't want to use a super heavy oil. This is in there, and because I can't see frig all, I touched other things which I shouldn't have done, and I put a little bit of oil there and a tad of oil here. I think what I'm doing is I'm oiling everything. I'm touching friggin' everything, because I'm, again, not on top of this movement. I'm kind of on the side of it. So let me just clean stuff up a little bit here. That's good, that's good, that's good. That is good. And that one is oiled. Don't oil the top there because you got to put the hands on there. So everything should be working. And I'm gonna put the balance on without cleaning the cap jewel for it, just to see what what kind of power I'm getting out of it. So this thing is just falling through this friggin' movement, so this movement holder is shitty. So we'll go to the Department of Movement Holders and pull out one that actually holds the movement. Bam! This is from the Department of Movement Holders. And this is going to be the world's longest video. Let me open this up to an incredible dimension. Make sure it's not squishing anything when I put it in. There we go. That's not bad. And then tighten that up a bit. I don't want it to scratch anything though, but this is aluminum, I believe, so it's fairly soft metal, so it shouldn't be an issue. And then I've got to take out my world's smallest screwdrivers, take the cap off this, and then oil that. So I'll be back. Alrighty then. So I took the cap jewel off, just like I've done in other videos. Used the back end of some pegwood, cleaned off the jewel, and put it back on. So we're good to go. Also oiled the thing on the inside, so we should be good there. I think I've oiled all that. That's all good, so I believe the next thing I need to do is just put the face back on. So, face the nation. Let's just take this face here and see if it's back onable. So if I look at this movement here the way it is, and I just look at where the seconds thing is, and all the way through here, it should go on like this. And it does. It does. There's always one little thing that's hard to put on, right? I don't know why, but there is. It's this one right here. So, and you don't want to crack anything, like I said before, so you want to be very gentle with the whole thing. And it means there's too much of an angle over here, which means there's too little of an angle over here. So this one doesn't even have a screw in it, so I'm not sure what's going on. There we go. It's in, and I just have to screw down these little tiny screws here. So let me get this movement holder out of the way for a second. It's not good focus because I haven't focused down. Camera I have here is a good camera, but for some reason it doesn't autofocus really well from a distance, so it's not that good a camera, is it? So I think I lost a screw. Oh my god, oh my god. It's like I said earlier, don't take the screws out because you'll lose them. So let me look down and see if I can find the screw that I lost. Get rid of this. It's not that big huge screw that I've had a long time ago, but I've got a fingerprint on here that I need to remove using my Rodico. Put some of these oilers back where they belong, and do a screw hunt. I can find another screw for this. I don't want to have to though, but I'm pretty sure. Oh, actually no, there's a screw right here. So I think there is, and there's a screw right. No, that's the lever. Okay, there's this screw here, and this one is missing, and this one is missing, and that's it. So there is a rogue screw somewhere on this mat, and I don't know where. I told you earlier that I should be screwing those screws back in because I will lose them. And guess what? Lost one. Anyway, I will find the screw later. I do have a lot of other screws I could use, but I would love to find that other screw though. Come on, screw, where are you? Alright, I'll come back. So I'm going to go to the Department of Screws and see if I can find another screw, because I can't find. Actually, halt everything. So The mystery screw, I believe, is for the balance, right? Which is way out of view, but the mystery screw is for the balance, and the other screw that I thought was for the balance is for the movement. So I may have found my mystery screw. So what I'm going to do is put the screw back in and pray. Praying is always, you know, you should always pray to make sure that your watch repair goes right. So if I throw this screw into the hole here, and I know it's out of focus, but throw that in there, screw that baby down. Again, I need to put my loop on because I can't see. Wiggle! Screw that baby down. There we go. And then go to the opposite side. Look for another hole, advantageous hole, which I think I want the top hole to be the one. So, because I got a bottom screw in there already. Grab this screw, throw this in this hole. Because that screw did look like it was a bit small to be in the balance cock. And guess what? It fits perfectly. So it is the right screw. So there it is, the right screw for the right job. Now I think I'm going to put the hands back on before I even put the balance back on. So let me just do that. Grab the hands and place them back on the watch. And hand one, putting hands on is actually used to not be that much fun because I hated it, but it's a lot easier now that I've figured out how to do it. And you got to make sure you don't put them on backwards. So, and what do they say? I worked for a guy that said never do public math. So this is not doing putting hands on publicly. There's a hand. And I'll just nudge them over to the 12 o'clock position. Like that. And then I need my favorite hand putter honor tool, one of these. And I just need to press it down. That's squishing everything, and I do this normally by looking from all sides. And then I have a look at that at an angle to see what it looks like looking down, so that the hand is on but it's not too high or too whatever. So in this case it needs to be pushed at a little bit of an angle there, so that's good there. So that's perfect. And then I can put the other hand on. This is the one that's usually has a bit of a bend in it. So, yeah, I dropped it. This hand, it looks like it's bent actually on the end. So, but I don't want to bend it back because I will break the hand. Yeah, it actually looks bent, which I guess if you looked at the watch closely and you wanted to buy this thing, you'd go, hey, what's with the bent hand? So I don't want to re-bend it though because I'll break the damn thing. So what I'll do is I'll put it on as a bent hand, but I'll put it right over the 12. So it's a bent hand on the 12, as they say. And again, I might turn the camera off because this is crazy. And I usually do this, I grab the ham some Radico. There, just put it right there. And then I need to push this down, and I don't want to screw this up, so I think I already screwed it up. Doesn't look like it wants to go on. I'm going to have to go off camera and play with it. Alrighty, after a ton of adjusting, I finally got the hands back on. And it was such a pain. So it turns out, I think the previous watch guy didn't put the hands on properly. So he was, they were not on right. So I think that was an issue from the previous watchmaker. So now the hands are on right. I don't know if they clear or not, so I'm going to have to see if this actually works. So if I flip this all the way around, are the hands going to clear? Oh, they just barely clear. So what I do typically is, there we go again, is I'll take this end point here and I'll put my tweezers in and ever so slightly twist this downward, and not too far downward because then it's touching the movement, but so I just think there, just like that. And that way when the watch goes around, rotates, I can look on the edge like so and see if they clear, and they do. So then the second thing to make sure that happens is that the hands will also clear the second's hand. I think I got that pointing down a bit too much, but to make sure it also clears the second hand. So what you do there is you put the second hand on very carefully. I gotta clean this up at Rodico again because I just made a mess of the whole damn thing, but try to get the hands right. Get rid of some of the stuff on my clean up the I saw a little bit of hair on the second hand or something, but I'm not sure what that is. I think it's growing hair. That is a little piece of fuzz, something that will stop the watch. Put that on like that, and then get the bench key out again and see if the hour hand clears the second hand, which it does with no issue at all. So it clears it nicely, so there's no problem there. So let me just move the time over. I had to actually go and take the I think whoever worked in this last time had the minute hand on backwards, so I had to take this and take a little bit of material off the hand, the hole for the minute hand, and put it back on again. So I did that, and it's now nicely, it works nicely. So just gonna flip that back again. So after all this work, it may be time to put the balance back on, because I got to put the balance back on, and I've got this crazy ring I got to put back on. So let me just get that working again. Alright, I'm going to put the balance back on now, so stand by to stand by. See if I can not screw this up. So I'm going to enter the balance from, let me think now, see what I drop this down here for a second. I want it to be on, balance is going to come in this way, so I'll enter it from this side. So I have to move the pallet fork over like that, and then I got to hold the balance properly here and not put it in my friggin' hands. So I'll have to enter it basically. I do not want to drop this balance, that would be a disaster. So I want to enter the balance from this side at an angle like that, and hopefully it's in there well, and sometimes you have to do it a few times, but I will do this, and then I will adjust this just a bit to see if it's going to be, if it's sliding in the right place here. So I'm not sure if it is yet, but don't think it is, Jerry. I don't think it is. Do not pressure anything here, because you will screw it up. Alright, I'm going to try this again. And you got to do it a few times sometimes to get it right, because the pallet fork has got to be, or the impulse jewel has got to be on the correct side of the balance, otherwise nothing works. So I'll put it in this way, and then I'll rotate this again. Usually I do this without glasses on. But pull that out slowly and then drop it in. Is that in? I don't even know if that's in. Okay, that is in. So I'm going to tighten, put the screw in, and it's that long screw that I can't find right now. I tell you, losing screws is something I'm good at, I think. So anyway, I'll put the screw in and we'll be good. Oh, is that it there? No, these are the case screws. Oh, it's over here. I should pause the friggin' video, because I know this is not going to work. I have this sneaky suspicion that when I put all this together I'm going to have other issues. But let me just put this in right now. The world's longest video, and see if I can get like an amazing amplitude out of this thing. There we go. I may have to take this out again, but I'm not sure. So let me just put a little tiny bit of pressure on the roof here. That's not the right term for it, of course, but I'm going to call it that anyway. And something seems off here. I'm not sure what is off. Let me look at this thing before I totally screw it up. Oh, it looks like the hairspring is on the top. You bonehead. There we go. That's a bit better. Let me just tighten this down a bit. And get the big screwdriver out here. Do some serious tightening. There we go. So that is now running. And I don't think there's any play in the balance. Just put my finger here and stop it for a second. No, there's no play in the balance. I just edged it up a bit. The watch is, I don't think there's a full wind on this, but it's running, which is great. It's cleaned. It's not regulated yet, but it's running, which is excellent. This is the ring that keeps the dust off the movement, aka the dust ring, as they call it. And that's pretty easy to put on. You just line it up and slide it on. And the dust ring is officially on. I'm trying to see if I have any, if it's lined up properly here. Actually, it's fine. There's no, there we go. So you just line the holes up here for the dust ring and you're good to go. I don't even know where the camera's pointing anymore. It's pointing in the middle. Should have had it pointing over there. So the dust ring is on. There's severe lack of fingerprints on the top, so that's good. The jewels look like they're in place, no issue. The case, normally I'd clean the case off a lot, but I'll just get some Rodico around the case here and just clean off the general crap. General crap! I think I served under him. Anyway, you can do a lot of case polishing and stuff, but I want to get this thing back together again just so I can show you what it looks like. So this would go in like so, I believe. It would go in like this, because this is where the hands are changed, right there, that groove. So it goes in like this, I think. I need to take my goggles off so I can see. There we go, look at that. I'm alive, I'm alive. funny. Try to put a watch movement back in. I'm not sure why it wants to not go back in. Because all it needs to do is to, I think before, I think I may have it too deep here and I can't get it in. So if I just do this and then line this up like so, like that, and then I can, and then it's in like so. That's perfect. Tick, 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 tick. And I will keep it like this for a second as I put the screws back in. I got one here. We're almost finished, ladies and gentlemen. We are almost finished. One screw here, and this will be a long video, I'm telling you. And the only thing I didn't actually show you was me doing the capsules. So there. I did show you cleaning the, or wiping down the mainspring, which is probably a harder job. Yeah, don't scratch anything, mister. Alright, case screws are in. Flip it around. Now, I know I touched a few things here, so I'm going to just take the Rodico here and carefully wipe this down. Stay away from the second hand when you're doing this. You can move the hands out of the way. Actually, I don't have any prints on the top, I don't think. I just have a few here and there. And the only reason I have prints on here is because I was farting around with the hands. They needed to be farted around with, though. There are significant hand issues on this particular movement. I could take the second hand off and just rub it down, but I'll just chase it around the corner here. Let me see. Yeah, it's almost good. Got to do the bottom. Here we go. 2 hours and 4 minutes. World's longest video. That's good there. I got almost nothing left here. Nothing left. I just look for the shine and see if there's any prints anywhere. Take these prints off. Got a little bit down the bottom here, like that. That's not too bad there. So I think we'll just call that a night. I was going to say call it a day, but I've been at this for friggin' ever. What did I say earlier? I say friggin' a lot. So there it is. So let me put the crystal back on. I don't think there's any prints in the crystal. It looks pretty good. I'm just going to put that on to protect it. What time is it right now? It's 4:04. So pull that out. Set it to 4:04. I got to put the case back on. 4:0. Let me just do this and clean this up just a little tiny bit up top here. Like that. There we go. Look at that. Thing of beauty. It's a very pretty watch. So what did I say? 4:04. Let's make it 4:05 now. I don't know if this thing likes to go backwards. 4:05. Bam. And then I'm going to put the crystal on. Okay, wipe that down later, but put it on for now so everything is protected. There we go. And you remember I bent the hand just a bit so it conformed to the crystal shape, so it's a good idea. And then this thing can be wound. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King, Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, Jack, Queen, King, Ace. Okay, that's really wound. So, and then as a last step, I wonder if I should have a look at the amplitude before I cut it out. So I'm just going to pause for a second. Alright, there's the resulting amplitude. It's not bad. It's over 360 degrees spin, which is divided by 2 again. So that's pretty good. So not bad. It's all cleaned up, ready to go. and I think that's all I need to do now. That's pretty much it. I could clean the case up a little bit, but I'll do that later. So that is the Hamilton pocket watch, cleaned and oiled and ready for prime time, which is great. And here comes my friend to clean things up. And that's the end of the video.